Okay, this is Jay Peters with Consumer Publishing Group of CreditSecretsBible.com and DebtFreeBible.com. Today we have Mike Citron from MikeCitron.com and also the author of The Art of the Short Sale. Today what we're going to talk about, which we've been getting a lot of emails about, is loan modification. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, Mike, what is a loan modification?
A loan modification is when a lender adjusts the existing terms and conditions of a mortgage on an individual's home or investment property to better fit their current needs. That adjustment could be in the form of reducing an interest rate, it could be in the form of reducing the principal balance, and it could be in the form of extending or changing the amortization to a longer period of time or a shorter period of time, or a combination of any of those.
Obviously, we know how consumers benefit from it, but how do the lenders benefit from a loan modification is my question.
Well, lenders right now are just overburdened with foreclosures, more than they can handle. The government, as well as every consumer protection organization, is going after the lenders vigorously to try and get them to find ways to keep people in homes rather than foreclosing. So the lenders benefit from several different ways. One is they're going to make the government happy, which will, lead to other subsidies, and it happens in big business. But more importantly, when it gets down to their bottom line, these properties have not only drastically reduced in value, the cost of foreclosure is going up for them as well. So if a lender can maintain a loan as a performing asset, they're going to wind up more often than not affecting their bottom line more than if they would have foreclosed. Because if they would have foreclosed, they have additional time periods that they have to worry about selling the property, potentially spend more money to get the property ready for sale, hire a real estate agent. They can go a year or a year and a half without getting anything more in. So if the lender can adjust the principal balance, adjust the interest rate, adjust the terms to make the home affordable, they keep that same individual in the home, because the homeowner usually doesn't have a problem with the home. They have a problem with the loan.
Being devil's advocate for a second, my big question is, in hearing this, why the change of heart? How come at the beginning of the downturn, they basically wouldn't work with anybody? It was basically, screw you, we'll take the home back, it would sit for a while, and then they would sell it for many times, $50,000, $150,000, or $250,000 less. And my question always was, why didn't they just work with the guy who was in there, which they weren't doing that at the beginning, and now obviously they are. Why the change of heart, just to fill me in on the politics of this?
Banker sense and common sense probably will never meet. But, to say why they're finally starting to switch to a more common sense approach, and they're not fully there yet. Jay, I'll tell you, they have a long way. I was a proponent saying that as soon as somebody is 10 days late, 15 days late, 20 days late, that's when the bank should be calling them and saying, hey, is there something we can do to help? Not wait until they're 60, 90, 120 days late before they offer them anything. The bank should be there working with you as a team for the ultimate goal of success, but they're not there yet. But why they're being more proactive now? One, to be involved in many of the government programs that are out there, so they get subsidized like they should. And two, because it's severely affecting the bottom lines. The stockholders are saying, hey, you can't have any more REO inventory. REO inventory is real estate owned, where the banks are basically investors in real estate all of a sudden, because they were taking back so many properties. And they had so much inventory, and they still do. So many of them have so much inventory. They can't afford to have more inventory, because more inventory means they need more inventory managers.
That explains why we're at where we are today. And the big thing that people ask us that they want to know about, because where we're at now is we have everybody and their brother, Tom, Dick, Harry, Sue, and Jane, who was a realtor, mortgage lender, cars, anybody who has now got into this as a business, and there's, you can't sit in front of the television for more than probably 12 or 13 minutes without saying a loan modification ad. And obviously, there's a tremendous amount of fraud that's going on, and we're hearing customers call in who've been ripped off or in the process of getting ripped off. And the big question is, first off, can a homeowner do a loan modification? What's the reality as far as the legality? And are these people just charging for something a homeowner can do on their own?
Can a homeowner do it on their own? Absolutely. A homeowner can do a root canal on their own, too, if they wanted to. We can get the books and figure out how to change our transmission, too, Jay, but I know you and I probably wouldn't do that. So the reality is it something a homeowner can do? Yes. But they're going to get stuck waiting in line and not necessarily have the right questions to ask, not necessarily have the right answers for the people on the other line. Additionally, they're going back to their lender who's put them in a bad position already for help. So that the lender who's there, now you're going to go back and ask them to have your best interest at heart. That's where they really need professional representation, and not to knock any of the people who aren't attorneys doing this. I feel that the only way to pick somebody out there to do it is going to be when you're truly represented by an attorney, because one, their license is on the line. They have a fiscal interest in making sure that they take care of you, because that's their profession, is to represent people in disputes and represent people, because there's a lot more to a loan modification that can be done when you're properly represented than you can do on your own. Because one of the things that attorneys do throughout the loan modification process is try and identify something that was done wrong throughout the origination and servicing of the loan, so they can potentially leverage that as a negotiation tool.
So if one of our listeners out there, many of them, who are they're in a home, the home is worth less than what their mortgage is, they're upside down, they need help, they have to have an attorney to do that work, correct?
They should. If they're going to hire somebody, then they should hire an attorney.
Now, many states, due to the fraud, haven't they made it absolutely against the law, a criminal act, to charge money up front for that service, in which attorneys are exempt from that?
Absolutely. Many states have passed laws that just say you absolutely cannot charge money up front. Now, these profiteers are looking for ways around that, where they may charge an application fee, and they may charge for doing some paperwork and stage things. So the best advice to give anybody, even though there might be some good guys out there who aren't attorneys, but the best advice is just go to an attorney. Have a proper attorney who specializes in this area represent you for it.
Okay, and in 2 minutes left, is it possible for them to get principal reduced in addition to interest?
Now, most of the commercials, like you said, you can't go a dozen minutes without seeing something on the radio or print media or television, about a loan modification. And most of those advocate that, okay, principal is going to be reduced and this and that. The reality is, Jay, last year, less than 2% of the modifications that were done had a principal reduction. Less than 2%. So anybody who is promising anything in the loan modification space is a blatant lie. They can't guarantee anything. They can't guarantee any results, and you never know if you're going to get principal reduced. Can some cases warrant the principal reduction? Absolutely. I consult with hundreds of attorneys across the country and teach many of them how to do this. And we've seen thousands of cases, literally, with principal reductions. We've seen multiple thousands of cases with simply interest rate reductions. What the homeowner really has to realize is they need to find a way to get that loan affordable to them.
In 60 seconds, how does a consumer go about finding a qualified attorney, and how do consumers out there or listeners get in touch with you?
They get in touch with me at MikeCitron.com. I've consulted and taught thousands of attorneys around the country, so anybody wants to shoot me an email. If I have an attorney in their state, I'd be happy to refer one to them. On their own, if they want to look and interview with attorneys, they want to ask how many successful loan modifications has the attorney done in the past 12 months, in the past 6 months, in the past 3 months, and out of those, to give some case studies and some examples of successfully completed modifications. And everybody should realize this process is not an overnight process. It can take 3 to 4 months, sometimes longer, depending on the negotiation.
Sounds like good advice.
To learn the latest credit strategies and tactics for speeding up the credit restoration process, please visit CreditSecretsBible.com. Learn the latest strategies, like 3 ways you may be able to legally qualify for a new Social Security number through the SSA, 10 different government programs to get your student loan canceled, how to lower your current monthly payments on your debt by up to 50% practically overnight, the fastest way to raise your credit score in as little as 30 days, how using a credit repair or law firm can actually make your credit worse. Find out more by visiting CreditSecretsBible.com. Are you married or thinking about it? Learn the 5 critical keys you must know before signing any credit application. Learn the best way to protect yourself from identity theft for free. Find out more by visiting CreditSecretsBible.com.